Fate decided.
Let's get this party started.
Craven something scary.
Hello, Sydney.
KillJoy Jake.
Don't you swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother!
Nightwatch Zone.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
Get up!
The collective has spoken.
What's going on, Lethal Collective? Mondays, Fate Decided's with me, bro. We got trailers that have come out. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. Like it's actually coming to fruition. It's coming, man. For you guys in the chat, thanks for hanging out with us. This is going to be interesting. If you guys have any questions, throw them out to us as usual. We'll try to get to as many as possible. But real quick, just a blanket hello. Wayne's in the chat. And Val, what's going on, Val? And absolutely, man, we gotta just say a rest in peace to Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman himself. I was absolutely shocked, man. Obviously, we just found out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, Pee Wee's Big Adventure. That was one of those movies that growing up, it was kind of like, wow, it was cool, man. You know, I mean, obviously he had a very up and down career, but sad to see that he passed away.
Yeah, definitely. You know, R.I.P. Like I was telling you backstage, like my mom was on Pee Wee's Playhouse and stuff like that many years ago and stuff. So no, she had memories and like experience, like good experiences on it and stuff like that. So you know,
yeah, man.
It was you know, he had a successful career, man. I mean, the guy became a legend, you know, even long after his heyday.
That's right.
He still was, you know, people still recognized him, people still knew him.
That's right.
He was referenced in pop culture and film and all kinds of stuff for many years. So
yeah, man.
His legacy will live on.
It's true enough, man. I mean, when you say Pee Wee Herman, I mean, people know who that is, you know, even if they weren't, you know, around during the heyday, or even if they didn't really watch a lot of the stuff, but they know the name. So that definitely does say a lot, man. It really, really does. What's up, Jen? Good to see you. Mega Giants, what's up? What's up? Darts in the chat saying, gentlemen, thank you for the stream. Well, thank you for coming to the stream.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
No point in streaming if you guys don't show up.
That's right. That's right. You guys are the ones that make it happen. Jen was saying that he was sick for a while. Yeah. It's sad to hear, man. It really is.
Yeah, he looks like he died of cancer, which it's no fun.
No.
You know?
Nope. Hey Mario, what's up? Good to see you. All right. So let's just, you know, let's just come on. You know what we got to get to. So where do you want to start, man? Are we going to start with The Exorcist, or are we going to start with Saw, or
I guess we can start with
what?
We can start with Exorcist because it came out first.
Okay.
You know, the trailer came out first, but
yeah.
You know, and then we can get into Saw, and then Fear.
And then Fear. Okay.
And then Fear. No, but
for you guys that weren't here last week, man, you missed about 15 minutes of amazing fun.
It was great. We really dove into Fear, and not the Mark Wahlberg Fear.
That's
just to
right.
clarify for everyone. Which Mark Wahlberg's Fear is a great Fear. Fun fact, okay? Both those movies are called Fear. Okay,
that's
Mark Wahlberg.
Oh man.
But no, diving into The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Okay, I'll go first. This is the bottom line. All right. Now, I've already said this a lot, and I know many people feel this way. First of all, the fact that we're doing an Exorcist movie, to me, not only is super risky, but I just don't see the real big point of it in general. In general, right? That's not to say that I'm not going to see this movie, because I will. You know, I'm very curious. There is a level of interest just to see what they're going to do. When I saw the trailer and I did a reaction to it, there were a couple of moments in it that were kind of like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting, a couple creepy moments, but a lot of it was run of the mill. I will say there is an opportunity for them to have some interesting weight in the film, because you've got two different families dealing with this, and if they wisely choose to mine that, as far as the tragedy of these two families, similar to what they did in the original movie with Chris. A lot of that movie was dealing with her and her struggle trying to figure out what's going on with her kid. It wasn't even really about the exorcism itself. She was trying to solve things through medicine, through science, and then ultimately spirituality. So just to see it, I was glad to see it, because now it's real. Now we got stuff to talk about. But a lot of it did look run of the mill, and I'm just going to be interested to see what happens from here, now that we kind of let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. So,
it looked like another run of the mill Exorcist movie. It doesn't look like what my thing is like. What is this going to do that we haven't seen 1,000 times in every single movie since the original Exorcist, right? Like, and how are you going to tie it in? Because so far, it only looks like the only connection to the original is blanking on the name. Help me out. Chris.
Ellen Burstyn.
Ellen Burke. There you go. That's the name I was looking for. Yeah. So, like, it's just okay. So she's she's 90 now, right, or something like that. Like, it's like, I don't know. What are you going to do that's going to have this like super tie-in? Like, I just think you could have done the exact same thing and just had a non-Exorcist movie,
right?
That, like, because it's just, you're talking about a like life, like, not even life, like generational defining film,
right?
That is like, up there as one of the top 3 to 5 horror movies ever. Like, even just as far as influence goes,
right?
And you're and now you're trying to tie, like, not everything needs a remake, not everything needs a
sequel,
requel, or whatever, this is going to be classified as, right? It's just, I just feel like it's all kind of pointless, and it's all just kind of a cash grab, which, I mean, every film, every sequel, every movie period is a cash grab, right? Because you're making it for profit. So, but there's like, okay, there's a movie that's just a cash grab, and then there's like, this is a blatant cash grab. Like, you're just you're just making an Exorcist movie and just throwing the name on it just for the sake of throwing a name on it. So it's just, obviously they're trying to do some things different. You got like, 2 girls that are possessed, and it's just, so I guess they're trying to do things different, but I just feel like we're gonna watch that movie, and it's gonna be just another film of that genre, and it was like, what was the point when it's all said and done? You know what I mean? Like, I don't see it having, like, I don't think we're gonna leave that theater and be like, man, that was the sequel we needed. That was it.
Right.
Who needs The Exorcist 3? We got Exorcist the Believer. Like,
right. Well,
I mean, even
no, go ahead. You can finish.
Oh, I was just gonna say, even the title, like, I hate. Like, you couldn't have thought of something better than The Believer.
I hope that, it's funny you say that, because I was thinking that too. I hope that it ties into something important for the movie. I really do. I don't know if I don't have big faith that it will, but I hope that there's something behind the reasoning of calling it that because,
Yeah, my guess, and I would even be willing to bet some, like if Vegas had odds,
Mhm.
I'd probably lay some good money on it. Like I guarantee you, the reason it's called The Believer is
Mhm.
because the dad or whatever, because you see them going through all the psychological
Mhm.
examinations and stuff. Is that the dad doesn't believe in exorcists or
Mhm.
possession, doesn't believe in
Mhm.
demons, and that's probably what the story is about. Him, people are like, she's possessed, and he's like, stop it, that's nonsense, demons don't
Mhm.
exist, blah 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 blah, because this is a 3-part, right?
Right.
This is supposed to be a trilogy. So my
Right.
guess is this ends with something happening, and he believes, and now he believes that it's the demon,
Mhm.
and that's why it's called The Believer, because the dad is probably the one that he just is skeptical. He's a skeptic and now
Yeah.
becomes a believer.
Yeah.
I almost bet that's what it is, and to me that's stupid. Like you
Yeah.
couldn't have
Yeah.
come up with something else.
Right.
Like
Right. Well, I think that I- if, well, yeah, if that's the reasoning, then it kind of is okay. Yeah, whatever. But speaking, of the dad or the families, I do think, and a couple of these guys in the chat, by the way, saying hey to Carrie, these guys in the chat are talking about it. The idea that two girls being possessed, kind of being an interesting thing, wondering, is it one demon or not? And I was saying that this could be, in other words, they could make this decent if they spend the time with the families and trying to show the different dynamics, you know what I mean? Because to me, anyways, and I'm a huge fan of the original, and I love 3 as well. Um, to me, the original, what was so good about it was that I really got into the characters of Chris McNeil and Father Karras and obviously Marin and Reagan. And the reason why is because they spent so much time with those
yeah,
characters. They were dealing with this unknown tragedy, and each of them kind of dealt with it in a different way, right? So if this movie, and Leslie Odom Jr., he's a good actor, so if they can really utilize his talents and really get into the nitty gritty of him dealing with this, and then of course the family of the other girl and that interplay between them, and really, really get into that versus a lot of scenes where we see them possessed and doing weird shit and cursing all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like if they really try to make this, a good movie, a good story, then there's a chance that this could be decent. It really
yeah,
could. And that means they will have to fight the urge that so many other possession films since The Exorcist have done. And that was always to emulate Reagan when she was possessed and her head was spinning around and all that type of stuff. I'm hoping that's the choice that they make, and if they make that choice, then there's a chance. Because you do have that interesting thing with these two families. Do you think there's a chance that they will do that? Or do you think they're going to go the more traditional route and show us a lot of, over the top shit, gross out stuff? The girls are cursing up a storm and just a lot of shock value.
I absolutely think that's what they're gonna do.
Okay.
like without a doubt. Like here's the thing though, like I my thing, like this could be a great movie,
Hmm.
right? Like let's say it's one of the best, Exorcist style films we've gotten in the last 10 years or something, and it's great.
Yeah.
Why do you need to call it The Exorcist? Is my point. Unless you're gonna do some groundbreaking tie-in that's just this like, oh my, and it full circle, and it's just like this epic story that makes sense for the
Hmm.
past,
Right.
then I just don't see the point in tying it in. Like, even if this is a great movie,
Hmm.
right? Like, I guess at least they wouldn't have tarnished anything, right?
Right. Right.
But it's just, why even make that risk when you could have just made another Exorcist style film
Hmm.
from Blumhouse, and excuse me, and people still would have seen it. Just
Hmm.
as many people will probably see. I don't think How many people are going to this just because it's titled The Exorcist? If
Right.
anything, you can make an argument. Fewer people will probably see it because it's titled The Exorcist. People are probably going to be like, I don't want them to ruin my all-time favorite movie or a movie I grew
Right.
up when I was a kid, right? And unless it's
Right.
like just an absolute banner, those people might not come back, or they'll wait
Right.
and wait till it's out on streaming or something like that. Like, so I really do think it's just going to be your typical run-of-the-mill. Here's the vomiting and the crawling and she's on
I
the
hope
wall
not,
now.
man. If
And
they
I
do,
think-
if they do, man, I'm gonna be even more disappointed because it's like you guys have learned nothing. You know what I mean? I mean, that would just I'll be super disappointed if they do that because number one, the reason why that stuff, at least for me, and I'm just speaking about me as a fan of the original, the reason why that stuff in the third act worked so well is because I was so invested in the characters. That's the possession and the exorcism stuff in the original movie was really a small percentage of the overall movie. That
Yeah.
to me it was a very, very small percentage. But
Well, they
real
said,
quick,
go ahead.
we got to knock at the door, and then I'll
Knock
let
on
you
my
finish that up.
door. Yeah.
I know it's Three's Company time. What's up, man?
Hey guys.
Hey,
What's up,
how's
buddy?
it going?
Sorry I'm a bit late. Can
That's
help
all
it.
right. Hey, no problem at all, man. We're getting knee deep into the Exorcist discussion.
Okay.
And Steven, we'll get your thoughts on it too in a second. Fade, if you want to finish up what you were saying, and then Steven, you can give us your thoughts too, man.
Yeah,
Sure.
with the new Exorcist movie. Like, shoot, I lost my train of thought. What do you remember what the last thing you said was, Nate?
We were talking about the fact of what they're going to go for the shock value, and I was saying that if they do that, it's going to really disappoint me because with the original, yeah,
I do remember. So like this movie is supposed to be like 2.5 hours, right?
think
Isn't
so.
that what the runtime is? It's like 2 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes, something like that. I know
Oh,
it's like
wow.
a longer movie. So
Mhm.
my hope is that that's kind of the route they're gonna go and just building the characters. Now, obviously, you don't want it to be drawn out too long,
Right.
right? Like, I just but I think it's going to be your typical modern Exorcist style film where it's just like you get some craziness in the beginning. You get the establishment of the girls and and they're happy-go-lucky, and then boom, you have like something crazy happen, or maybe even the movie starts with like somebody else possessed by this demon. Do they tie in Pazuzu? Like, is that something that they end up tying into? Which, fun fact, that is actually a movie adaptation of Zozo, for those that are familiar with demons. So, fun fact. But yeah, so anyway, do they tie Pazuzu in and like they have that connection, or does it like start with like maybe scenes from the original Exorcist to kind of establish tone? Probably be like that. You'll probably get the establishment of the girls, boom, they're possessed, and then I think it'll just be like them trying to figure out what's wrong. The dad, like I said, is not a believer. He doesn't want to even entertain the idea of them being possessed, which is why it's called The Believer, because he's the guy that's going to end up believing when it's all said and done in demons. So you got the skeptic, you got all that, and I just think it's going to be just like your typical run of the mill. Here's the vomiting. Here's the mother sucks cocks in hell. Here's all this usual stuff, head spinning around, just craziness, and then that'll be that. But yeah, outside of that, I'm not expecting much originality. I mean, I'm gonna watch the movie. I'll check it out definitely, but it's not something that I'm like super stoked about. But we'll see. Time will tell.
All right, man. I hear you.
Yeah.
Real quick too.
But
we got a super chat that has come in real quick from Michael. Thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate it, man. Saying Reagan McNeil should be back, not her mom Chris. Well, I've got an interesting thought on that. I do think that Linda Blair will be back. She may not be back in this movie, or she might make a a quick cameo at the end. But I do think that they're going to bring back Linda Blair. And I saw this in the chat too about how we're going to make this into a trilogy. I honestly think that it's going to be something where in this movie, like you said, maybe at the end, the father or whoever, becomes a quote unquote a believer. Something's going to happen, and then Reagan is going to be brought back into the fold. That's how I see 3 movies playing out. And David Gordon Green has been very dodgy about the question, because people have just literally asked him, is Linda Blair going to be in this? And he's been very dodgy, saying that, I forgot how he said it, but he basically said she will be alluded to, or something like that. He hasn't necessarily said yes or no. And that leads me to believe that she's going to be involved in these movies at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, she might be maybe you get the iconic, like, because every Exorcist film seems to do that now, where, the Father Marion standing at the thing. What if it's her?
Right. Maybe she's the believer. Maybe she's the believer, because she went through it.
Went through it. That's always the possibility. Maybe she's the one. I think you probably get her at the end as like the cliffhanger that carries over into the next part. But I don't see them doing this without getting her back, or without having her come back. I mean, unless she's just not interested. Well,
yeah, that's true too. I mean,
because maybe she's like, dude, I don't want to like, I don't want to be a part of something that that could ruin it or something. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Not everyone's always like gun ho about like, let me.
That's a good point. It's a good point, man. But thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate the super chat, man. Seriously,
Yes,
it really, really means a lot. Val saying the part when Angela sneaks up on her dad in the bathroom was creepy as hell. Yeah, it had a couple of moments. It had a couple of moments, and I think that for me, like I said, I'm just hoping that they really, get deep into the families and the relationship of things and stuff like that. Because I think if they do that, like for instance, one of my favorite exorcism movies that isn't The Exorcist is The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And the whole possession and exorcism stuff is such a small aspect of that movie because you spend time with the characters, and so I think in other words, that's what this movie has to do. That's what The Exorcist 3 did. The Exorcist 3, and of course it was a different type of story, but it really was about the characters. It was about George C. Scott and his character. So I just hope, and I do think for modern audiences and for especially the younger generation, don't get mad, but I'm speaking the truth. I think for the modern audiences, yes, you do have to have those big flashy moments. You do have to sprinkle that in maybe a little bit more than you did like when we were kids, or obviously when The Exorcist came out in 73. Yeah, 73. But as long as they don't go super over the top, I mean, they can't make this absolutely bonkers, balls to the wall. I think that would be a mistake. So we'll definitely we'll see.
Yeah, just
Michael,
keep it.
Oh, what was that?
Oh no, I was gonna say, just keep it like you can still build. Like there have been even possession films that have built tension without like the craziness, right? Like how Angela, she sneaks up on the dad in the bathroom and stuff like that, right? Like even just having her, like, maybe the dad's sleeping and she's just like, hovering over, like not like literally floating over him, but like just kind of standing at the bed. Yeah. And you're just like, what's going to, you can build that tension without having to completely just go over the top ridiculous, like do some creativity, build, we'll know who who's possessed. You don't have to have their head spin around for us to get the idea of like,
That's right.
that was it. Man, I was really wondering, are they the ones possessed? Like,
Right.
when they were just randomly went from normal people to weird. But man, that head spin really, that was my confirmation.
That was the moment.
That was the moment I realized, 2 hours into the movie that
Right.
that they were possessed. So I don't think I've always been of the mind, like, don't just assume your audience is dumb. I feel like a lot of movies do that. I feel like a lot of movies, like, they try to like really hit home on the point that like, oh, this is it, they're possessed, like, rather than just like assuming the audience actually is competent enough to understand like these were two normal girls like 10 minutes ago and now they're acting weird and this is a possession movie. I didn't walk into Bambi like I'm watching a movie about a girl getting possessed. So so anyway, ran over.
No, I agree with you, man. Michael saying that Linda Blair has to come back for this trilogy to work. I agree and I disagree. I'll have to see the movie as far as what they decide to do. This could work without Linda Blair. I don't think that the way that they're constructing it, I don't think that she's not going to be involved. I think they're going to kind of just lean back to the bridge to the original film and the original situation with her being possessed. I think that's the route that they're going to go. But I definitely, personally speaking, I'll be happy to see her come back as long as it works. Everything always has to be executed correctly. It has to work, man.
Yeah.
But Gina was mentioning that, and I did hear this, that she was helping the kids, kind of behind the scenes with their acting and stuff like that, and kind of being an advisor. So I have heard about that. But I do think she's gonna be in these movies, man. She'll
make an appearance. She will. In the Last Exorcism. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Last Exorcism. That was all right. Yeah.
It was all right. But that's what she said earlier. Said I don't know how you make a possession into a trilogy. I mean, I think that's like, because it's something like I've seen people mention, like, how are they going to go about this? Now, obviously, we don't know, right? Each film could kind of be its own thing with maybe different demons or something like that. But my guess is probably this is the establishment film of the characters, right?
Yes.
Like how Knight was saying, like, kind of like how, because again, it's the same people that did Halloween, right? So like 18 was like the establishment of the characters. You got introduced to the new characters. You kind of, you had little spots here and there, but it was a little slower compared to like Halloween Kills as far as like action goes. And then Halloween Kills really ramped up. My guess is that this first film is them getting possessed, them establishing the characters, them getting possessed, them the dad trying to find what's wrong with them and why they just went into the woods and came back. So is it a fungi? Is it, they'll try to process it through scientific technology and try to figure out what's wrong. And then you'll have that moment probably where because it does, like, we don't really see priests or anything like that in this, right? Like, so my guess is that this one is the establishment one. This is the one where the dad's the skeptic and doesn't believe it, and that's why it's called The Believer. And then part 2 will be him finally believing, everything's ramped up, things are getting worse, kind of like Halloween Kills, where like you had the establishment film, right? You had the big end scene that left on a cliffhanger, and then that carries over where it left right off, and then everything just ramps up, and Michael goes on his killing spree. Kind of the same thing, where like these possessions, start ramping up, and maybe bodies are flying and stuff like that, and it's this craziness. And now that's where maybe Reagan comes in, and where the priests and stuff come in, and then they go through that, and then the final one will kind of be that conclusion film, and where really it's just Michael Myers' essence that's possessing these girls and not a demon. But no, that's probably my guess on how they go about it. Is I think you'll have the establishment film, you'll have the crazy, nonstop, like, shit is real type film, and then you have like the conclusive film where the exorcists are actually starting to exorcise the demon, and then you see the aftermath, and then it probably all ends on like some cliffhanger or something, right? Where
Could be, yeah.
somebody's standing there with the eyes or something, right? That's
Right.
probably how it goes.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. It could, man. Well,
Yeah.
let's also get into the Saw talk, and that way we can kind
No
of
one wants to hear that. They want to hear about fear. Listen, so fear. Now let's get this up.
Jeez. So what did you, I mean, first of all, just to rehash for these guys watching, what's your relationship with the franchise? What'd you think of the trailer, and what are your expectations?
So, my relationship with the franchise is, look, I really love the franchise. I mean, we've talked about this repeatedly. It's had its good and its bad films, right? But overall, I think it's one of like the more consistent films, like franchises. Right? You think a lot of like 10 film franchises, and like 5 into them, it's like something completely different, and like cars are flying in space and shit. Like,
right.
So, it's like, you get all these like just craziness where I do feel like it's been really consistent. I feel like some of like the tie-ins and loops have kind of missed, it have been kind of like lackluster, underwhelming. Some of the writing at times is kind of lackluster and underwhelming, but it always delivers with the traps. Whoever's in charge of coming in with the traps always seems to just hit that out of the park. And ultimately, I mean, that's what it's about, right? We want to see just like the crazy, like Jigsaw and all the craziness that gets, obviously we want a good twist, but I think for the most part, they've done a good job. Even some of the later films was like Saw 6, right? Like that's one that was one of the better ones. But the trailer, it looks good. The big question is how is John back? Like, how are they going to go back? Because they were making it seem like he's still alive, right, in the trailer. Obviously, I don't think that's the case. No. So I think this is either one of two things. I think this is either flip-flopping back and forth, right, to where you have like when he was alive and now, right, kind of like which there was one of the Saws did that. Right, where you like it had traps from like when he was still alive and he was setting it up, and then it would jump. Was it like 4?
Yeah, I think that was 4.
Yeah, where it I think they kind of do that again, where it's like here's John Kramer and him setting it up, and then because you see what's her name under the pig mask,
Amanda,
right at the end. Yeah, Amanda. She takes off the pig mask. You see her there, so she's probably still running the scenes in real time, and then you have. And then also it says, it seems like this is like punishment for people that were helping him.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of what this seems like. So
they duped him.
Like, yeah. So I kind of feel like this is like the grand plan. And I don't think he's alive by any means, but I think like you get that flip-flop back and forth where, he's alive or to where he was alive and then to modern time. And hopefully it doesn't get too crazy to where you're trying to figure out like, wait, is this like now or is this like,
right?
Like sometimes those films can do that where you're just like, wait a minute, like,
right?
So hopefully they have clear divides. But the other thing is just like maybe the scenes are like in Amanda's mind, where like like she's been there all along, going through the grind with him, stuff like that. And like, it's her kind of remembering the purpose, right? Kind of thing. Maybe you get some like emotion out of her where she's questioning like, he's not alive anymore. Should I continue or something? And he's like in her head, like, the game is whatever.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't know. It looks interesting. It looks good. But there's obviously there's always concerned. Like last thing I want is them to like actually bring him back, and it was all just a ruse. Like he wasn't really dead or anything like that. Like I just feel like now you're getting into like supernatural territory. That's kind of what this is about.
I don't see any way that they could really do that. And I've thought about that so much for so many of the last couple sequels, because that's always been kind of the thing, and especially in what was it, Saw 7, and even in Jigsaw, and even in Spiral, they alluded to, he's dead, isn't he? Is he? And it's like, bro, he's dead. He was at the coroner's office with his neck cut open. He is dead. Um, I just don't see that happening. But the movie itself is set, or at least the meat of the movie is set between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And so, and first of all, I think that's a smart way to go, and I actually predicted that months and months and months ago before we even knew the actual synopsis, because that was the time when not only was he still alive, but he was able-bodied. You know what I'm saying? Because in Saw 2, he was at that point, he was so sick. He was, hooked up to the IV, yeah. So in between 1 and 2 is the perfect setting for this. And as they alluded to in the movie, when he said, well, how much time do I have? And the guy said months. And it's like, yeah, they could definitely, kind of mine some story there, because some of these movies have taken place during the course of a day. You know what I'm saying? So, but overall, I mean, obviously I've said it 1,000 times. I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I'm a huge fan of Tobin Bell. And when I saw the trailer, now, see, there was a big difference between my feeling of the Exorcist trailer and the Saw trailer. With the Saw trailer, I was definitely excited, and as a fan, they were giving me what I wanted and so forth. Number one is because Tobin Bell had so much presence, as he always does. And I think that that's a smart thing for them, is to really lean into Tobin Bell. I mean, everything he said, as always, was just money, because he just has that presence and that charisma, that voice. So, but also the plot of the movie, I think, number one, it makes sense. And number two, it's kind of, it can be powerful, kind of like Six, dealing with the insurance companies. I think that this could be very powerful, just like Six. And to me, Six was one of the best sequels, if not one of the best movies in the whole franchise. So I think the plot of this movie is really, really, it's smart. It could be powerful, and kind of alluding to what you were saying earlier. I also think there might be some time play going on in this.
Back and forth.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I mean, because each movie has that twist, that moment where that music kicks in, and I think that possibly could be either the twist or part of the twist. We'll see, though. I mean, and I've seen the trailer a couple times. I've got to watch it a couple more, and and I'm gonna do some videos on it and stuff like that. But bottom line is, when I saw that trailer, I was like on board, excited. It was a totally different reaction than with the Exorcist. The Exorcist trailer, when I saw it, it was more like a cautious interest.
No, absolutely. You don't think that they're kind of painting themselves into a corner, though, by bringing back Tobin Bell and tying it into 1 and 2, because they've already kind of done that, right?
Yeah.
Like they had, right? I think it was 4 where they were like, it was in between or whatever,
Right?
Or 5. I know one of them was like kind of did this.
Yeah, 3 and 4 were at the same time, and we found that out at the end of 4. Yeah,
at the end of 4. Yeah. But yeah, I know one of them kind of did like the, here's back to when he was alive type thing. But the thing is that, like, do you have any concern that, like, okay, we're in the 10th installment, you're kind of going backwards rather than forward to continue the story, and now, like, are they becoming too Bell dependent?
Well, I think there's definitely that possibility. To me, here's how I think about it. To me, he is Jigsaw. He is Saw, for me personally. You know what I mean? Like when he's involved, all of the movies are always at their strongest. And what's too bad, I bet you, I said this before, I bet you they're still ruining the day that they killed him in 3. I know they are. I know they are.
Yeah, because they've been trying to grasp at straws ever since. Like they've been trying to, like, figure out how to keep this franchise going. But that's my point, is that, like, how long can you keep this going when you already did what you did? And do they end up just doing something silly where they bring him back, right? And
Yeah.
they show it was all staged, right? Like,
Right.
it was all a ruse, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, you saw his body, yeah, you saw the coroner and all that stuff, but like, I mean, there's always a way, right? And I mean, we've seen people essentially
Always.
come back from the dead and saw, right? Yeah, the
That's
whole
right.
you're like, so it's not like, I don't think it's, and I think it's something that many people would look past,
Yeah.
right? Like, as long as it's not some like he's a zombie now or something, I think if they like if they just told like a half convincing story as to how he faked his death, right? Like, I think that people would just kind of be like, that's stupid, but okay.
Yeah,
Just because
the
they want
greater
him
good,
back.
right?
Yeah,
The
like,
greater good is we
like,
get Tobin Bell back. Yeah.
They messed up. All right, they corrected it. Cool. Let's keep it going. Like, let's keep the train going. And just that, I mean, like, I the way I look at it is like he's created all of these like intricate traps and just all these different. He's done stuff that just seems like ridiculous at times. It's a little over the top. That it's just like, not that it's like super unrealistic, because I mean there are people that have been able to create.
He's a civil engineer. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like that far fetched. So I mean, to think that like he could come up with that stuff, but he couldn't fake his own death somehow, even as like realistic as it seems, I think he could kind of get away with a little bit. But anyway, sorry. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, how do you feel about that? Would you be okay with it? Are you one of those people that'd be like, all right, fuck it?
Yeah, and
I'm cool.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I definitely be as long as they have at least some sense of, okay, I see how they're gonna do. You know what I mean? At least I can be on board with some of it. Yeah, if they brought him back, I'd probably just turn a blind eye, because again, the greater good is that he's back. But with this movie, back to your other thought, yeah, I think in a way they could be pinning themselves in the corner, but the good news, at least from what we see in the trailer, I'm sure we're going to find out more stuff. When the guy said you have months, to me, that was kind of their little back door, as far as if they don't bring him back, quote unquote, from the dead, is that they still have, if they wanted to, if this movie is successful, if they wanted to, that they could continue something in this particular moment of his life. You know what I mean? And again, I'm on board with it as long as it makes sense and as long as it's Tobin Bell. Because again, in that trailer, man, it was like going back down memory lane, man, as he was talking, and I was just like, oh man, this is what it's all about, man. I want to play a game, and I'm like, yeah, you do.
I mean, Wayne, real quick, and then I want to hear Craven's thoughts. But like Wayne said, the original was made as a standalone film. With zero thought becoming a franchise or sequel. Yeah, I mean, of course, right? Like, I mean, franchise or studios and stuff are more thoughtful, I guess, for sequels now more than they were in the past, because it's kind of the thing. And like at the time where Saw came out, you had a lot of these movies that came out that were originally just supposed to be one-off films and stuff. But like they killed him in what, the third movie?
Third movie.
Right. So like, like it wasn't like they killed him in the first one and we're like, shit, like how do we, like they want to do another like 9 of these. Like, they were already 2 sequels in when they killed him, and they already had number 4 lined up. Like the studio was like, we want one of these every year, right? It became the Halloween thing. Every, just like Paranormal Activity, every year you were getting a new Paranormal Activity and you were getting a new Saw every single year, like clockwork. So the third movie in, they already knew that they were going to keep pumping these movies out until like they told them no. So I mean, I don't think it was fully that. Again, if they killed him in the first one, I think it would have been like one of those things. But I think it was like, it's our, and again, I don't know this for certain, but I think it was more of like, all right, we're in the third film with this guy. Like, let's not handcuff ourselves to Tobin Bell. Like, let's not handcuff ourselves to Jigsaw, to where it's like Jigsaw and the traps and everything. It's an idea, not a person, right? It's this movement, not a person. So let's start getting other people involved, and that's what it became. It became this movement. It became this like idea, this like almost cult like thing, and And I think that was the direction they tried to go. And on some films they hit,
Yeah.
6, they hit on.
Yeah.
But, most of them, it kind of just felt like, all right, like a little lackluster. So
Agreed.
I think now they're trying to kind of like, shit, like we went over here. No, we need to kind of detour back. Okay, like we're kind of back at square one. Okay, can we go this direct? Like I think they're trying to navigate to figure it out so they can get more of these films. I think they're almost better off at this point to just continue to do like Jigsaw films, like do these little like off-branch films that tie into the original story, right? So like like have like a story of Amanda, have a story of this character, and have a connection and tie in. You could also do that and have Belle in some of these, right? Because they could be tie-ins to the first, second, rather than just here's another Saw movie and we're just gonna go back in time to bring back Tobin Bell, where you could just do all these from the Book of Saw type thing and just keep expanding, right? Because many people or Spiral, that's what it was, not
Spiral.
Spiral, yeah. Like do more of like these Spiral things. Like that's kind of the direction I feel that they should go. But Craven, what are your thoughts? And we also need to hear your thoughts on The Exorcist, but let's stick with Saw first.
So I love this. The trailer was amazing.
Yeah,
I thought it was fantastic, and man, I've only watched it once, and I want to go back and watch it again. I want to do a trailer breakdown video, which I haven't done. Obviously, I'll do it. I think I'm going to do that, but I thought it was fantastic. I love the motivation, the revenge factor in this because it's personal, which is unlike selecting victims out there who, for whatever reason, didn't appreciate this or that. These are people that promised him something, took his money, hosed him. It's personal, man. And I get behind that, like that kind of motive. I think that's awesome. So I love that. And then how can you not love Amanda, the final scene when she takes the pig mask off?
Loved it.
I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And then I think Hoffman's in there too. Did you see that image of Hoffman? The still shot of Hoffman?
It was a still shot of him?
So I got to give credit where credit's due. This is Marcus over at I Shot Him 6 Times. He has been dissecting it by frame, and he found an image. It looks to be Hoffman looking through a door or window. And
that could definitely make sense. Because they haven't said anything about Costas Mandylor playing Hoffman, and that it wouldn't surprise me if he popped up or just a quick little, because he was a part of it at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I lost you there for a second. I think it was my internet. But he was a part of it. So, now, anyway, I'm very excited. September 29th. I can't wait. Honestly, I think I'm probably looking forward to that. That and Five Nights at Freddy's are the 2 movies I'm looking most forward to the rest of the year. And coming in at right behind those 2 is the sequel to Death on the Nile, The Haunting of Venice.
Yes. Yep.
And that, have you guys seen that trailer?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Dude, Fate, you gotta watch it, man. It is like it looks like a horror movie, but it's an Agatha Christie whodunit murder mystery.
Yeah.
And it's in Perot. Yeah, it's a Perot story. It's in September. Also, like the 10th or 12th. And then so that's a big month. I'm looking forward to that, and then Saw. Now, as far as The Exorcist goes, man, I have not yet seen the trailer. And I have held off. I thought about doing a reaction video to do it, but I haven't done it yet. So I can't speak about the trailer other than what I've heard from others, and the consensus of what I've heard. I'll be really curious when I do watch it, because what I hear from everybody else is, this is like another possession movie. Here we go again. And then when everyone gets excited is when the music starts. Like they start hearing the bells or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is what, the 2 bells start coming in. And then I've heard people say that they get the chill bumps. It's nostalgia, right? It's like, and they all get, that's when it's like, oh, all the excitement starts, adrenaline starts pumping. I don't know, man. You guys know I don't watch those possession movies as a general rule anyway.
Mhm.
But I have to say, man, David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, both are writing it with 2 other writers. So it's 4 writers in it. And look at the hodgepodge we got with ends when you have so many cooks in the
That's
kitchen.
my problem. Yeah, it's my problem.
That's my concern. I really is. I'm like, I went to IMDb straight to see who was the writers. And it's
Mhm.
DG, David, Danny, 2 other guys. I'm like, oh, here we go. 4 guys writing this movie. And I don't know. Again, it may be amazing, but I'm just after how David Gordon Green ended that Halloween movie or trilogy. I'm just a little concerned about it. If I was a diehard Exorcist fan, which I'm not, but if I was, I'd be really like, if that was a Scream, new Scream trilogy, I'd be like, oh crud. I'd be like nervous as could be, chewing my fingernails off on that
Mm.
one. So those are my thoughts on those 2. I know I'm catching up with you guys, but I have to ask you though, real quick, and then I'll be quiet. Did you get a chance to check out my video about radio silence in Scream 7? If you
No,
haven't,
not
Not yet.
yeah, and you guys are super busy. I get it. Do you want to talk about that or not? It's up to you.
about
Yeah, we
Radio
could.
Silence not coming back, or they're going to be a
Yeah.
producer or something.
Right.
Consultant?
Well, yeah. So basically, short version for now, because I know we're getting up on an hour.
Yeah, we'll be ending up in a little bit.
We'll be ending quick, so I won't go with the long version this late. But basically, and I don't do this very often. You guys know that, I do videos where, like, if we see like a viewer anon or something, I'll report on the tweet and I'll show it and I'll give my thoughts. I'll do that all day. But you never hear me come out and say I've got news. I have a source. That's not what I normally do. Well, I did it yesterday, and I'm happy to say it's literally now for our horror community, it's blowing up on Twitter. It's like not viral like 1 million views or anything, but in our circles, the circles you and all of us run in, the sandbox night, as you used to call it, the sandbox
Mhm.
we're all playing in, it's doing really. It's over 40,000 views on Twitter, and people like Tristan and Brittany Vanel are promoting the video. Critical Overlords promoting it, and I really appreciate that. Basically, there's someone that I know personally that I cannot identify them. I promised I would not, and I'm not. But they are very close to the production of Scream 7. That's all I can say about them. And they actually told me, said, look, you did not hear this from me, but I'm going to tell you something. I said, oh, tell me. I'm like, I know what I was going to say. And he said, basically that what they said was that radio silence is not attached to Scream 7. They said they are not coming back. He said this decision was made prior to the strikes. This was already decided upon before anybody went on strike. And he said that it's a done deal. He said I am certain upon certain upon certain upon certain, like 5 times, that this is the case. They are not going to be back. It's done. And I was like, oh my gosh. Now he said, you can run with that and just you heard it from someone. I said, yep. But this someone that I heard it from is not just some kid in his basement typing up on some unknown website. This is legitimate, credible person close to the production. It says, I would never make a claim like this with anything short of that. And now I do preface one thing, guys. I always say anything can happen. We know that. Anything can change. People's minds can change. They can reconsider. Who knows? So, but if that happens, that does not mean what I'm saying is not true. I know this person personally, and I know there is no reason for them to say this. They're legit. They are plugged in. So I shared that. It's in my, that's basically the whole video. I go into it more. But then they went on to further state the director that they believe is already attached and signed on to do the movie. And it's one that we've talked about as a one we thought would be a good choice. And not Ty West. That was, that was always my, one of my favorites. But this person I'm actually thinking is better. It's Christopher Landon, who did Happy Death Day, Happy Death Day 2, Freaky, several Paranormal Activity.
Well, and he also followed everybody, and remember
He
there was
did,
that,
yeah.
like,
That's
there
the
was that
thing.
thing where he went and he
he
followed
followed
everybody.
them.
It was,
Everyone. And remember,
said, great, looking forward to working with you or some shit.
You remember that? That was an
Yeah.
April fate. That was way back in April. That's why this deal has been done. Like, this is not new. It's just that.
Well, they're going to go work on their new monster movie.
And Escape from New York.
So Scream 7 would have had to wait, like, for them to come back. It would have had to wait anyway. So
Well,
and
right.
like I said, I was saying back then, like, I don't think the studios are gonna want to wait.
No,
they're gonna want to ride this train.
Yeah,
we probably would have gotten a movie like March of next year if it wasn't for the strikes.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why they wanted a director attached already. Because I think when the strike ends, they're putting their foot on the pedal.
Go time.
They're going.
Yeah.
They're going. And I have to say, I'm very excited to say, I went to Christopher Landon's Twitter to see his most recent follows. Not people following him, who he's following. Guess who he just started following very, very recently, within it's on this recent list. One, Matthew Lillard, ladies and gentlemen. Just started following Matthew Lillard on social media. And man, I don't know. Look, he may know something we don't. That's all I'm going to say. It doesn't mean necessarily anything, but it does mean something, because he's never followed him before now. But all of a sudden he's decided to follow him. So I'm just, take it with what you will. But if for all the stew trainers out there with me that are on the stew train, that's a little nugget. That's a little nugget that could turn into something much bigger. We'll see. But that was it. I just wanted to know if you guys had heard. I had shared that yesterday, and I'm doing a big live stream tonight on it, expanding more on what we're saying here for a couple hours. So anyway, that's it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. It really, really is.
Yeah.
And Carrie, see you later, Carrie. She said she had to leave. Her break was over.
Carrie.
See you later, Carrie.
Oh, can I add one more thing?
My only thing about that,
go ahead.
I just hope that they don't get too far removed from what they already did. I would love a fresh story, though. Like, I would love if they were like, hey, Radio Silence is gone. Let's tell a new story from scratch. I mean, you could keep the returning characters if you wanted to, but not do some like crazy tie-in. Like, just have like, here's the surviving characters and here's a new story, rather than like, them going full circle and it's like, Sam's brother comes out of the wood, like, the trajectory they were going. I hope it's fresh. But the only concern that I have is, we have this like established version of Scream, like as far as pace and tone and, cinematography style and all that stuff. My concern is that with a new director, all of that changes.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And how different is it? And is it something that people are okay with? Like, if the direction is something complete, like, I'm hoping it's within the scope of what it is, at least like the pace and the tone, to where it kind of still feels like because we're heading in this direction, right? A new director comes, all of a sudden we're going like making a sharp turn, and it's like, whoa, like, and that can affect the franchise a lot. So my hope is that, because I mean, even like with Scream 5, right? There were a lot of people that it took a little adjustment to go from Wes Craven's style to Radio Silence style. Some people loved it, some people hated it, some people were like indifferent about it. And then Scream 6 happened, and more people kind of came around, even with like Sam, right? Like more people came around and were like, okay, like I can get on board with this. Well, now you're doing this again in the middle of what was very likely supposed to be a trilogy. It's just, sometimes that can really, unless unless they kind of like, we want you to do that again, right? And maybe he's like, yeah, I can do that. That's no problem. Like, we can keep it. Yeah. So just
something real quick I'm going to throw in, because people have asked this a lot, and I just wanted to mention it now. my source did tell me that they do believe that James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick are going to remain as the writers. They do not believe they're getting new writers, which that's good because there's at least continuity of story
Yeah.
for us.
Right.
It's just going to
Yeah.
be what Fate said. It's going to be how does a director lift it off the page and give it to us visually? What's the tone, pace, the look, the feel? That's where the personality of the director comes in,
Right.
which is the unknown. But Knight, how do you feel about that scenario, man?
I feel like, like we kind of thought about, talked about it a while back. I think it's probably the best case scenario because I think Christopher's style fits into what we have seen,
Mhm.
so far from Radio Silence. And plus, with his other projects, they very much parallel what a Scream movie can be. So I think it's probably the best situation that we could have hoped for. And with James and Guy still on board, like you said, they'll still keep that same continuity of tone, especially for the characters. It just might, it might be like you said it perfectly, lifted off the page a little bit differently than what we would have seen with Radio Silence. But if it goes down this path, I think it's exciting, to be quite honest. I think it's probably the best case scenario we could have gotten at this point. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I think it's cool stuff.
Do you guys,
I really do.
Do you guys like the idea of? I mean, I get the continuity, but you don't. Is there any part of you that's like, new director, new writers? Let's do something different.
Well, yeah, I think there's a curiosity of it for
Not
me.
like the writing's been great.
No,
I mean, did you hear that information about
I-
Samara Weaving? Samara Weaving, like it was her real reaction that she was just like she didn't like the writing or whatever. Like that's not good. Like it's not like the writing has been great. It's not like the writing is so like A1. It's like, man, you can't change the writing. It's like you got a new director, you got a new everything. There's a big part of me that's like, just start fresh. Because Scream 6, you can make an argument was a conclusive ending. Sydney is living happily ever after, right? Everyone kind of survived. It was, this home like feel good type film. Sam chose her sister Tara. They walk off into the sunset. Boom, end scene. It's over. Let's move on. We got new director Christopher Landon. We got new writers. We're gonna tell a new, fresh story with new characters and just kind of go in a different direction. You might be able to get another 5 films out of this. Right? Like if you go that direction, because you could just start a whole new trilogy with new director, new writer, get on board, start a new thing. And I don't think it would be that big of a factor. But what are your guys' thoughts? And then we can skate out of here.
I'll let you answer that, Steven, and then we'll wind down because we're
man, I think the only, well, I guess it's what we want and what we think will happen are 2 different things sometimes. So like what I think is going to happen, because Project X, if Project X is still produced in this movie, and I see no reason to think they won't be, then James Vanderbilt is a lock to be there. He's the chief creative officer. Yep. He's going to be the writing it. Guy, I'm sure, will be there. So here's what it comes down to is, what was the intention for this movie from Guy and James' perspective? Because if it was their intention to have another Sam and Tara story and end it here, I suspect that's what they're going to do. Yeah. But the other question you really asked is, would we want to see all fresh stuff? And I think that I could handle that. I mean, either way, honestly, I would be curious, and if Landon's behind it, I would be excited about it. I would look forward to it, but I would also want to see who the writers are, dude, because that's a big deal. Like, what else have they done? I want to see what they're how do they write? What's their writing style from other movies? Because writing's everything, and you're right. There's been some writing here that's less than stellar at times, but no Kevin Williamson, that's for sure. But you know what? I also know that there's probably some writing that could be a lot worse than what we've got too. So to me, it comes down to who the person is writing. But I
Just throw a bunch of money at Kevin Williamson. Just be like, hey, man, name your price.
Oh, bro.
Give us a new trilogy.
Could you imagine Kevin Williamson back in the writer's chair?
Money solves everything.
Dude.
Money solves everything. You know
It's
what I mean?
true.
Christopher Landon direct and have Kevin Williamson be like, hey, we want a new trilogy with you two,
Yeah.
Christopher Landon and Kevin Williamson. Name your price. You know, I mean, within reason, of course, but like, you know, hey, you want 10 million a film? We'll give you 10 million a film. Here you go. Write the movie.
And lock it in.
Because you know you're going to make money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I said lock it in. Like lock in a 3-picture deal. Like
That's
Right.
I wouldn't like if I was the studio, I wouldn't go to him and be like, we want you to write the next film. I'd be like, no, we want you to write. We want to do a new trilogy with Christopher Landon. We want you to write the new trilogy. Write a new trilogy for Scream. This is your baby. This is your thing. Money talks. Name your price. We'll give you 10 million a film or something ridiculous like that, to where it's like he's not going to say no to that. And then let him go in his lab for like 6 months. Write a at least the first version, and then there you go. I think that would kill, and I think that
I
would
think
get
so too.
I think that'd get a lot of people pumped and excited about.
I think so too.
news. I mean, I do. I think people would be like, "Oh man, like Kevin Williamson's back!" Like,
oh my gosh,
the
and
ship's
you
right.
know the marketing. Oh, every piece of trailer, print is all going to be the return of Kevin Williamson. You know, it's going to be everywhere. Oh,
I mean, Scream 5, they marketed Kevin Williamson, and all he was just like on set handing out.
He was
Right.
He
right.
did make notes. Now, hold on. In all fairness, he did make
made
notes to the script, and
Yeah.
according to
Yeah.
Radio Silence, that the writers did everything that Kevin wrote. They did it. Whatever he wrote, they implemented it. But you're right.
But
that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the guy was chilling and taking pictures with everybody, and like
exactly,
and they were marketing him like, imagine if he was actually writing this film. Like I just
that
think
would
that there's a lot.
that would have been cool.
Well, it's like we watched Sick the other day last week.
That's
it's like the guy can write still. He's not lost his skill to write a movie.
Exactly.
So it's just a matter of whether he said he wanted to pass it to a new generation. Heck with that, dude. I mean,
I know. I know. That's what I'm saying
seriously. Too. The new generation will figure it out. We need you back. Let's figure it out when they grow up.
Yeah.
Agreed, man. Absolutely agreed. Well, all right, guys. Well, we're going to get ready to wind up down there. For you guys in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. And definitely continue to let us know your thoughts on everything we've talked about, whether it's The Exorcist, Saw, or Scream 7. Leave those in the comments. Definitely don't forget to hit the like button. It helps us out. We'd appreciate it. And Why Not Ben just jumped in. Bro, check out the replay. Head on out of here. But thank you for coming in. And we will catch you guys later. The Collective has spoken. Peace.
Bye, guys.